I hear the call of the stars.
G'day guys, welcome to game number 1 of semi-final B from the WCG Australia Adelaide South Australia qualifiers. It's a bit of a mouthful there, but we got it out of the way in the end. This is going to be a TvT between two high-level TvT Terran players from Australia. We do have up the top in this sexy red, we've got GGFighT. His opponent down in the 6 o'clock position will be TAVoices from Terra Australis. One of the bigger clans in the Australian community, perhaps the C community as well, and we'll probably see some awesome action between these two guys today here on MLG Metalopolis. So this is MLG Metalopolis, so keep in mind there's no walling at the bottom of the ramps, there's no close spawn positions, so Voices won't have to check over here, and Fight won't have to check over here when he's scouting out, and we'll see how this game progresses. So a lot of TvTs these days have actually been changing just a little bit in terms of how they actually are played. Some obviously back at the beta you used to see a lot of tank Viking and that sort of fancy battling out with the Viking micro to make sure you're controlling airspace. Then we've had the switch to tank Marine, of course, once you realise that you actually can control the ground a little bit better if you got those Marines in the fray as well. Then we've seen all sorts of things such as the Iacoic build, where you go a little bit more of a Sky Terran, and also of course there's a little bit of a difference there with some players these days actually going either full mech or full bio. And it can really depend on how good you are with either of those particular methods. So we'll see what these guys are up to here today. Neither of them actually doing any sorts of proxies or anything like that. Scouting SCVs just jumping around the map for the moment here for both of these players. They are scouting out the close air positions just for the moment here, and obviously both of them are unfortunately going to scout the wrong place just for now, and they are going to realize in just a sec. Here you go, Voices has just noticed that. Meanwhile we do have Fight just over here actually scouting out down to the bottom position, so he is going to get perhaps a little look inside his opponent's base, although we'll see if the timing of this Marine actually gets in the way. Here it comes, there it is, and he's going to do a little bit of micro here to make sure he can take out that SCV. The SCV does get inside though and scouts out the refinery there, and no second refinery just yet, but that's pretty much all it's going to scout for now. And as we will see in a moment from Voices, we'll have a look at what he got up to. His SCV was just died over here, but didn't actually get inside at all, didn't even get up the ramp unfortunately due to the pathing of units in StarCraft 2. Actually didn't get up the ramp at all to see what was there, but pretty much both of these guys going the same sort of thing. We've got a factory on the way from both players, no second gas just for the moment from Fight, so I'd suggest he's probably going to do something perhaps with a little more Marine-centric style, or perhaps some Hellions, and it looks as if for the moment here Voices is getting that second refinery up, so he's either going to hit up a Banshee, although it might be a little bit slow perhaps because the factory is only just about to complete now, and no, I think this is going to be something like Tank Marine for the moment from Voices. He's going to get this reactor out, going to pump out a few Marines, and also get perhaps a tank or two out as well. So we'll see if he's going to push with that, or if he's just actually going to do some sort of fast expansion with the tank there as well. So a little bit of an old school style there perhaps from Voices, but not sure what is going on yet. Hey, just while we're waiting for things to cook up a little bit, make sure you have checked out the semi-final A, which was a PvP between Spider and Bielsko. That was a pretty interesting little set there between those two players, and just some good micro and that sort of things from the winner. So make sure you check those out, and of course after you've checked this one out, if you haven't already seen the semi-finals, jump in there and see those, but also have a look at the grand final, which will be up as well. So these Marines now moving out here from Voices. He's going to have the cover of a tank in just a second, so I'm thinking he's going to have a little push with the tank. We do not have, there it is, yeah, Siege Tech is still on the way. A starport going down, and here comes the starport switch from Fight, so he is going to get a Banshee out. I'm assuming if he gets a Raven out, I'll be very surprised. There it is, Banshee coming out here. The command center is actually done here for the natural expansion, but for the time being that is not actually going to get too far off the ground. unless it just lifts off from the ground where it is. But the expansion is not going to get too far up. We do have a lot of Marines here for fight, so he should be able to hold this just for the time being. There aren't actually too many Marines here. Plus, there is also this Hellion in the fight here, but the siege tech is now done, so Voices are going to have a little bit of firepower to unleash on those Marines a fight. And we do have, you can see there from that that first siege tank volley that the Marines actually went down a notch. A few of them still in the low red there. This guy at 4 health, he's a bit of a Rambo, but he's not going to get too far there. They do not want to push out too far because this tank is going to absolutely destroy those Marines if they push too far out. But now that the Banshee is done, going to need a little bit of marker here to take care of these Marines. There are still 5 Marines left in the mix here for Voices, but he's definitely going to have to fall back from this position here. The Banshee now just taking care of all those Marines that were trying to run away and now chasing after this tank as well. I'd not be surprised if we see fight actually try and push all the way back to the natural expansion of Voices, and we'll just keep an eye on what this tank does. And there it goes, the tank goes down. The Hellions in the mix as well, burning off some of those Marines while they were trying to retreat. And now Voices is going to have to put up a little bit of defense for the time being. He does have a Viking on the way. There are still a few more units that are just pumping out. In fact, he doesn't have any units popping out for the moment, but he is trying to get this expansion up, so he should be in a nice spot for the moment there. In fact, nearly losing that Viking there. That's a bit unfortunate if he loses that straight up, but the Banshee is still alive here from fight, so we'll see if he can actually go inside and do any sort of damage with that. Do keep in mind there's no cloak coming here from a fight, so he's not going to be able to do too much more with that Banshee now that the Viking is out. But the expansion just down here from Voices is just on the way, almost half done, and we'll see if Voices can hold off this attack. He does have the siege tech, so that should really help him out, of course, if he can position the tanks along the sides here, just on these sorts of positions to make sure that you're covered. You're actually in a really good spot. So fight actually switching now into a couple of racks, and we've actually got engineering bays up the back as well, trying to make sure that he's not supply blocked. Speaking of supply blocked, we actually have Voices supply blocked. I'm a little bit surprised by that, but he does have another racks on the way along with a supply depot or 2. No, there's no 2, it's just the 1. But he's sort of he's in an okay spot for the moment here. With the tanks, he'll be able to easily hold this. Probably going to switch this into an orbital command once the 150 minerals is there. There it is. And there it goes. So we're sort of getting back into a macro stage of this map for the moment. As we can see here, fight actually has some really good map vision with the 2 Zelnaga watchtowers taken, along with a Hellion over here at this possible other base. He's actually going to have really good vision here. Now, speaking of vision, coming in is this Banshee. We'll be able to take out a few of these SCVs. He probably should try and hit some of those ones on the gas, which would help him out just a little bit more, but a Marine comes along. He's not going to get too far at all. I think Voices is a little bit preoccupied, because if we have a look at the highway on the minimap, we actually do see that Voices is now actually pushing out with this tank Marine and Viking force. If he can siege up here and actually take some shots at that expansion, at the racks there, he should be in a really nice spot, but he is losing these SCVs here at his natural expansion. They're going to have to retreat. The Banshee is only on 22 health. Now, having a quick look at the base here of fight, he's had to move that rack's going to replant it somewhere else with the reactor. But what is he going to do about the Banshee? It's finally dead. Another Viking came out here along with those Marines, so that's that part of the fight done. We'll go back and have a quick look at the damage that was done in just a moment here. The Viking wars are going on. There's only 1 out for fight, but there are 2 there for Voices, so he does a good job there. Actually takes out one of the buildings that was there. I believe that was a racks, but now a 2nd and a 3rd racks are being rebuilt here by fight, so he should be able to stabilize just for the moment here. He does have siege tech, I believe. Yeah, he does. So he should be able to jump across and actually retake this position in just a moment if he can just reclaim the skies, or perhaps try and sweep around and actually take care of this attack force from the lower half. Maybe even intercept some of these incoming Marines that are coming to help out with this attack. That would actually really help him out a bit. But let's have a quick look at the economy tab here. We actually have 27 SCVs for Voices to the 48 of fight. So Voices in quite a detrimental position for the moment. What he is going to do now is he is going to utilize the fact that he does have those tanks, but here comes the cavalry, and the SCV is coming along here from from Fight, but he's not actually in position just yet. Now finally moving across with these SCVs, tanking the damage from the siege tanks there. In fact, that actually could have been quite detrimental because he actually had the tanks and the Marines blocked by the trees and the Manx statue there. He should be able to finish this off with his 3 tanks. No, down to 2. No, he is actually going to lose these. In fact, picking up the tanks in the medevac there. That's actually quite a nice little tactic there. He's going to lose one of the tanks perhaps to the siege tank fire on the high ground there. Tank does go down. The second one is in the red. This one could go down as well. There it goes. And Voices is actually coming back from that very unfortunate position he was in, and now not being too greedy, pulling back. Now that his tanks have done the damage they needed to do, he's actually going to pull back, which is a fantastic thing to see. Just a sign of a high quality player there. Pulling back once your damage is done. Speaking of damage, look at that, 11 kills on this siege tank, not to mention assisting in the destruction of that barracks that was there. And now Fight is going to have to come back from this. He still does have a really nice economy comparatively, but Voices is definitely catching up now with these mules, of course, in the mix, along with the resupply of those SCVs and all those minerals that were spent recreating the units that Fight lost. He's actually just about to catch up in the harvester stakes. So what is Fight going to do? Looks as if he's coming across the map here. Does have a few Marines and some tanks, and he's going to try and push across here. I'll be a bit surprised if he pushes too much further because there could be some tanks to contend with. And here they go. Voices Siege is up, and we have him just sort of holding this position here. He does not have the Zolnaga Watchtower. Neither of these players has the option of pushing up there because they will both get destroyed by tanks on the low ground there with the assistance of the units in the air. So Fight sitting in a nice spot at the moment here. Got to be really careful, Siege. Tanks switching over there from Fight, but the stim goes off from the Marines. This could actually be a really nice victory here from Voices. He takes out those tanks, takes out the Marines with a nice mix of sieged up tanks, stim Marines, and the unsieged tank as well, doing a little bit of damage. So that actually went right in favor of Voices there again. Actually, look at the supply difference. We actually have Fight down to 81 to the 98 of Voices. So Voices doing a fantastic job again, taking his third base under the cover of this imminent push, while Fight has actually done the same thing as well. He actually pre-built that orbital command over here at the natural expansion, then shifted it across. And we'll just have a quick look at what the upgrades are sitting at for these guys. Just as we head into this battle, we do have combat shields already done for Fight. Stim is already done for Voices, so a little bit different in how they have actually pushed through with the upgrades in this position here. But the siege tank on the high ground helping out Fight just a lot there, taking out some of those units, but still a lot of Marines in the mix there from Voices. And with Stim and now with combat shield, he has actually got a nice little force here. Could push up into the third base and perhaps take out some of these SCVs if he is like quite deft with those units here. In fact, may even be looking to do a drop here in the main while he attacks into the third. And here it goes. So we do have, we've got these Marines just stimming in here. Do keep in mind there are no medevacs, so these Marines are actually taking a lot of damage considering there is no way for them to heal up and down here at the main base here. Viking jumping down into the robot mode and actually taking out the siege tank there, going for the reactors here on the racks and the starport. Meanwhile, the third base has been neutralized for the time being here. Got to be really careful with where he goes from now. The turret is actually perhaps going to take care of that medevac, but no, it doesn't here. Coming along, the turrets have actually been destroyed, along with this second one should go down as well. Unfortunately, losing that medevac there. But while he is doing this, just over at the third, he's actually pushing in with these Marines again. More stims going off. These guys are actually doing a lot of damage and now pushing into the natural perhaps. Could be able to take out this other tank that's just sitting off to the side, trying to siege up there, but the Marines see that and take advantage of that siege tank that is doing nothing at all and take that out. Voices looking in a fantastic position here at the moment. He's got to be really careful, may want to pull back with some of these Marines with that tank on the high ground there, laying waste to those Marines on the low ground. He's actually in a decent sort of position. He probably should really pull back here now that he's got this third base up and running. We have a total of 4 racks inside the base of Voices, queuing up Marines left, right and center, and getting some upgrades up and running as well. But meanwhile, he's just dropping inside the base and Fight is going to have a big fight on his hands. I tell you what, with these Marines just running inside, a little bit of miss micro perhaps here from Voices, but he is doing a good job. He may lose this this medevac if he's not careful. He's taking some shots from the Viking in the sky from Fight, but Fight is going to lose his own Viking. So that's actually going to change how things look for the moment. And Voices now on the low ground again with some tanks. Going to take out the nice split there from FighT, just to point that out. But over here at the third, re-engaging at the third is Voices here. He's going to take out that orbital command. That puts FighT in a really bad spot. We'll have a look at the income tab in just a second, but also all of these SCVs going down. Those guys are not having a good day at work. Someone call their union because they are in lots of trouble. But FighT has done a good job of deflecting the attack at the main base, and now taking care of the attack at the third as well. But the problem he has is that his economy is in shambles compared to Voices. Voices is currently sitting there at around about 1900 mineral income with around about 600 gas. So he's actually in a really good spot here, is Voices, with a couple of factories pumping out the tanks. In fact, one tank actually not happy with the position he was put out through, and he's going to take out this reactor. That's actually just going to finish off one of the Marines just as the reactor gets taken out. They're just going to need to take out this other one here because he is still stuck. A little bit unfortunate there for Voices, but now we have a counter-attack from FighT. Going to need to be very careful with some of these tanks and the Marines. Again, with no medevacs, once these Marines stim, they're going to be in a lot of trouble because some of them are quite low on health. Now, we'll see what Voices has got up his sleeve. Got a siege tank on the high ground, along with a few on the low ground as well. With this sensor tower, he will be able to spot if there's any attacks coming through from the right-hand side, but as we can see, there is definitely nothing coming through for the moment here from FighT. He's just sort of poking in here. Needs to be really careful with how he engages this. In fact, he's going to have to contend with these stim Marines here, trying to move into position with the siege tanks, but unfortunately, Voices spotted that, is now moving through here, is going to take this out, and that is probably going to be game here. The supply is now looking 145 to 99. Voices is supply cap though, but not going to be too much of a trouble because he is sitting on the 3 base with a total of, I think that's up to now 7 racks in total, trying to get the 4th base up as well, and he's going to be in a fantastic position. If we have a quick look at the harvester count, we also have the harvesters are actually up for Voices as well, with 75 SCVs to the 63 of FighT. So FighT's going to need to pull something out of the bag here because I really think there is no way he's going to win this particular game. In fact, Voices is so happy with the spot he's in, just stims up those Marines, pushes them in the face of that tank, and now going to drop inside with the 5 tanks on the low ground. He's going to absolutely destroy everything that's in here. The +1 weapon's just about done for both of these players. That actually changes things just a tiny bit. The Marines will die just a little bit quicker as well, but these Marines in fact are pretty happy to die anyway. They're just running into those 2 tanks that were up on the high ground there, and the Vikings now coming out for FighT, trying to take out the Vikings of Voices, and now in a decent spot here with his air control, although now losing it to those Marines. Meanwhile, pushing in at the front are some more Marines here, along with a tank taking out all of those SCVs, and the SCV count is going to be absolutely dismal for FighT. Now, this game is definitely over, building up some supply depots over at the 4th base, and there is a GG. So FighT goes down to Voices in game number 1 of semi-final B from the WCG Australian SA qualifiers. Make sure you tune in for the next game. We'll jump right over there, and of course make sure you have a look at some of the other games as well, the PvP from semi-final A and also the grand final. Cheers.